Welcome back to Workplace Wellness Strategies, everybody. I am your host, Derek Anderson with the Elevate Performance Group. So, today, what I wanted to talk about was young people and people who are transitioning in careers and how that can be stressful and have a lot of mental fatigue. And what are tactics as coaches can we use to get over that and help you succeed at your highest level? So, to help me do that, I have a very special guest. His name is Mr. Michael Gomes. He is the founder of Clover Career Coaching, and he coaches individuals to do exactly the issues I just described. So, Michael, how are you doing today?
Excellent, Derek. Thank you for having me. This is amazing.
Awesome. I'm excited to get going. So, I have to ask off the top, as a fellow coach, right? We have to find this passion somewhere because it's a really selfless thing to give back to others. It's all about their success, right? Their success is our success. So, what got you into coaching?
Yeah, great question, man. Early in my career, in my first internship experience, I was thrusted into recruitment, right? Leading recruitment cycles, screening the resumes, leading the interviews, making the hiring decisions, and then subsequently training folks who came in. A lot of that across the board sometimes could be tedious work, but I fell in love with it. I could tell this is where my passion really existed. So throughout that, I translated that experience from the educational level and then some more work experiences with small consulting roles and some startups alike. Honestly, it wasn't until I did my master's. I went to business school and I acknowledged something kind of within the market, kind of within my cohort. There were some brilliant minds, some brilliant people, but they didn't have the same information I had, having worked in HR, having worked in recruitment all my life. What does that perfect resume look like? How do I make it to a second interview? How do I best present myself during a coffee chat? And so it started as something small, something on the side in between my studies, 50 bucks here, 50 bucks there, little small jobs, helping people. Oh, I need help with this interview prep. Oh, Mike, I'd appreciate a mock interview. Can you look at my resume? Can you make it better? It started like that. And then I started gaining a lot of confidence. And then the folks who I was helping were translating results. Suddenly, that individual whose resume never made it past finally made it past the scanners and they got that first interview. That individual who never made it to that last round of interviews finally did, and they finally got that job. And so that's when I realized like the experience that I live through is meant to be shared with folks who may not be in the same space, who may not have that same level of expertise. From there, Clover was born, and it started as a side thing, and then we expanded our sales initiatives, expanding our marketing. And it's been a year now, which is incredible, and we've made amazing changes, I'd say, along the way.
Such an awesome story. And I must say, like, coaching, it's so rewarding to see others get results. But a big part of it is our ability to motivate others in a specific way that works for them. Because as a coach, we can provide all the information, all of the techniques, everything you need to do, but they still need to put in the work and be motivated to do that. So if you can achieve that, I mean, that's just such a big accomplishment to help others. So if I may ask, man, what got you into career coaching specifically?
Yeah, like specifically, it really was something I was almost like brought into. I would say the mentorship on the one-on-one basis is huge. Even hearing people's stories and hearing the different journeys that they took within life, I live for that stuff. And the joy of helping someone push themselves and become the leaders that they want to become is so impactful. So it's always been an intrinsic thing. I don't do what I do to price gauge young professionals and try to rinse them of money, right? I do what I do because I want to do it. I do what I do because I think it's something that needs to be done in society, right? I know a lot of your viewers are American. For some context, I'm Canadian. And so within the Canadian market, I've even identified on a larger scale that these kinds of resources and this kind of support isn't widely accessible. Either folks don't know about it or they may not qualify for it. There's all this red tape that may come in when it comes to larger scale, personalized career coaching services. So that's where within the private market, I strive to fill that gap, right? Do I think there should be more support from the nation's perspective? Yes. But until then, we need to drive change where we can in the private market. We need to create an opportunity from the ground up to then create change on the larger scale.
Totally. And when someone comes to work with you, and same with me, right? They all have strengths and weaknesses. So, you ever seen it where someone comes to you, their resume is strong, but they might be lacking the confidence or have high anxiety levels when going into an interview, and working with them to kind of build their confidence and self-belief. What's a way that you do that with somebody? How do you work on someone's confidence, and outside of like, I know you practice interviews with them. Is it just kind of coming up with more and more questions that they may be asked and just having those answers on standby?
Honestly, one of the craziest things I've learned on the job is that folks undersell themselves, which is, maybe it's common sense, right? We're always our own biggest critics, our own biggest enemies. But seriously, when I go through, let's say, a resume and see someone's experience, you sometimes need the external perspective of a professional within the space to acknowledge, wow, what you've done is very incredible. What you've done, maybe you're wording it, maybe you're underselling yourself in the resume, but this is what you actually did, right? A lot of the time, that's what I find. Folks have that self-confidence that they need to be enhanced. And that's what my job is to almost go to someone, give them a pat on the back and say, listen, I'm proud of you. Great job. What you've done is impressive. And maybe no one's told them that, but it's my job to acknowledge where those parts are and give them credit for that. So a lot of it is that positive reinforcement, which oftentimes in society, I can't say I have some secret magic formula for it. What I do have is an expertise across industries where I'm able to acknowledge when someone should be giving themselves more credit. And sometimes the small things like those micro moments where you need more confidence, that's all you need. You just need someone calling things out for what it is, which most of the time is insanely impressive, but maybe you may not see it.
Yeah, I love that you brought up words of affirmation and reinforcement because it's something that we all need. Like, even we need that. And it's really hard to go into battle by yourself, and you might be crushing it, but feel those emotions of frustration or despair, and you're the only one you can lean on to kind of give you that positive feedback. And it's hard to do sometimes when you're not really seeing the results at the pace you want. So that's a way coaching can come in majorly impactful to others. So I love that you brought that up.
And I'll say too, I'm a big soccer fan. So with my clients, I always use soccer analogies, right? When you think of the position of a goalkeeper between the sticks, right? A game could go on and they can make, let's say, 20 crazy saves. But if they concede two goals, that's what they're known for, right? That's unfortunately how the sports market treats goalkeepers, right? It's as much good as you can do, as many crazy saves. If you're conceding two goals, your team's going to probably lose, right?
Right.
But that's not how life is, right? Life is acknowledging those 20 saves as opposed to those two goals you let in. So I find sometimes, something that I did kind of create is really like the goalkeeper method and kind of acknowledging, hey, listen, you have to credit yourself for the saves. That's what a goalie's job is. A lot of the time with students, that comes in the form of like, I applied to these three jobs and I didn't get them, right? And I'm like, listen, this isn't quite a numbers game. It's not a quantity. I'm going to apply to 100 positions and try to get them, right? At the end of the day, you're looking for one. You were looking to work and get one position, right? That's your goal, okay? And so a lot of time, folks will only look at what goals they let in, only look at the shots that they let in, and not credit themselves for like, listen, even if I didn't get that position, right? What did I learn from that, right? Did I control everything I could control? Yes. Then I can move on to the next opportunity, you know?
It's a great sports analogy for sure. And using your analogy or talking about the one person, losing or not getting hired three times, like you said, what did you learn from that? Something I try to teach as well is there's no such thing as failure. It's what did you learn, and maybe you're setting yourself up for something bigger and better, and you're growing as a person constantly. So just changing your mindset to see shortcomings in that way is crucial, and that's something that we aim to teach everybody. So another thing that I know Clover Career Coaching deals with is people transitioning jobs as well. And there's a lot of like mental struggles with that, like high stress levels and anxiety. Do you guys take different approaches to helping someone changing careers or even changing jobs within an industry as opposed to someone fresh out of school starting to get hired?
Right. Great question. With every transition, you have to look at it from two different lenses, right? You have your voluntary transitions and your involuntary ones. With that, going behind the scenes to more the mental well-being aspect with every client is where I start every single journey. So let's say it's something voluntary, right? You're making a pivot. Now you have to put yourself in the shoes of the client. You have to say, wow, I may be somewhere comfortable and now I'm leaving. Am I making the right decision? Am I going to regret this? Am I moving in the right direction? Have I done my homework? Why should I leave this? Things are so good. If it's an involuntary transition, there may be feelings of regret. There may be feelings of, dread of like, what does the future look like? Things seem so bleak. Things seem so empty. I'm not sure how to navigate myself moving forwards. So first and foremost, we take that approach of identifying which bucket are we falling under. And then from there, it's tackling the problem head on with advice that I apply to every moment of transition within your life. Be transition from friend within a relationship, within a job. With all of those, it's controlling the controllables and not worrying about the things you can't control. It's things you learn in therapy, it's things you learn from self-help books, but it's true and it genuinely helps. And so from there, identifying, okay, you're worried that maybe this isn't the right direction. Well, as your coach, I have different methods set up to identify your skills, conduct that different analysis to identify, well, with the skills you have now, is this an area that's suited for you? And let's say it's not. Let's say they have to do some work. What are some things we can control? What are some certificates we can go out and get? Is there more education that's going to have to be required, right? Looking at it from small specific goals to help build up. So absolutely, the methods change, and the methods are ever changing, right? Within the journey of leaving a position or leaving a career, a transition to something else, there are all these different things that happen in between. So you need to be very, especially as a career coach, you have to be proactive as much as possible, but know how to act on your feet when different things come up. I've had clients who were very straightforward about one specific industry they want to switch into. And then suddenly, halfway through, well, maybe I'll do this one. You have to be proactive about that. You have to say, are there other things you may be interested in? Okay, so when that time comes, you're already there for them. You're already prepared. So a lot of different approaches to take. Yeah.
Great touch on control. That's something I try to teach as well. So we all have subconscious thoughts that we're not aware of. We're only aware of like, I believe it's 92% of our, or unaware of 92% of our thoughts or something like that. So I try to help people realize the language in which they're using amongst themselves. Like, if you want something or you say you need something in your mind, you're actually putting yourself in a place of lacking. And that's where you lose sight of that control. So when you're focused on what you can control, you kind of change your neural pathways and block out those negative thoughts. It's all about what can you do today? What can I do right now that's going to make me better and set me up for tomorrow? And not worrying about the future, right? Just kind of staying in the moment.
Absolutely. I agree.
So, what's one of your biggest success stories with Clover Career Coaching of working with someone to help them overcome a massive hurdle and see that as a learning experience to get to where they want to go? Do you have any cool stories?
Great question. I have two really good ones. One is my biggest success story was actually an executive, worked high end within the finance space, right? Within banking. So that's kind of crazy. Again, like I said, I work with young professionals, students, graduates, and then here was an executive 20 years into a job having a bit of a transition, right? Within their careers. So that was a crazy job. I took it and we actually ended up finding a new position for him and it worked really well. But that was one of my favorite jobs I've done so far, and they've been killing it since then. A really personal story that I really like to share about a client success. It kind of balances the career satisfaction side, but also the mental well-being side. I had a client who was moving up within a company, and this was the big one. This was the one where they entered the managerial space, when they really start to take on that leadership role. And they were so passionate about it, and so worried about it. So we did the work ahead of time. We did all the planning. We did the mock interviews. The resume was looking beautiful. We talked about the negotiation strategies when they get the role. It was the night before their final interview. Um, for some context about myself, I'm a busy guy. So on this day, I had my day job. I get home, I had some clients for Clover. And then on top of that, I also do some work at the university I went to for my master's. So this was like an 8 a.m. to like 11 p.m. kind of day. I didn't even
Hey,
have
man.
dinner, right? That's the life, you know what I mean? So I remember I leave the university, I finish up all my stuff, and I go to get some fast food because it's the only thing that's open here late at night. I don't know if it's different in the US, but you leave at 11 p.m. It's food. That's all you have to eat. So I'm like, okay, I'm in the parking lot, and I get a text from this client, and they were smooth as a cucumber. They were feeling confident. The night before, things were getting tough. They were texting me, and they got very vulnerable. They said, Mike, I'm having a bit of an anxiety attack, and I'm really, really stressed out for tomorrow. Like there's so much pressure on this, and I'm wondering if I'm doing this right, if this question is going to be asked or whatnot, right? So I remember like 12 o'clock in the morning in the car, a McDonald's parking lot or something like that. I get on the phone with them and they pick up to go, Mike, like this specific question, I don't know, because I'm looking back at my answer and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. We're not going to talk work right now. We're going to talk as people, right? We're going to talk on a person to person level.
Mhm.
I asked about their day. I asked how their week was going. I shared some stories about myself. And then at the end of it, we really tackled what those mental hesitancies were and what those barriers were being set up, getting some cold feet about the position, putting a lot of pressure on their own performance the next day. So slowly but surely, we took each individual mental stressor and we chipped them away. The two of us, we just chipped them away. We didn't talk about any questions, about any interview specific things. We chipped away what we could on the mental side. Great call. Next morning, they tell me, great breakfast, woke up, everything went well. They go to the interview, they text me afterwards, Mike, the interview was amazing. I felt so confident I was in my element. Not long after that, they land the position. And to this day, they've been thriving within this managerial role as a leader within a position that they so long for dreamed of to getting. And that is easily my favorite client success story. I was so proud of them, especially that jump of that moment of anxiety, not even 12 hours before, or whenever what it may have been. That jump was incredible. And I think you said it best as coaches, I can't go do the interview for them. I'm
Right.
not going to be in that room. I'm not going to be the one having those conversations. That's them. So everything that they did, I'm like, listen, that's your win right there. We did all we could beforehand, but for right now, you celebrate this as your victory because you did that interview. You wowed them. You had the experience. You got the job. And now they are killing it within this managerial role.
Nice.
So
That's an amazing story, and I can just tell in your voice how much it meant to you, you know? And that's what I'm talking about with other people's success helps us thrive, and that's why we do this. Um, the other cool thing about that story is when you chip away at those thoughts one at a time, you're setting them up for future techniques when they experience anxiety attacks or other emotional elements of how to manage it. You know, it's a kind of subliminal thing that we can throw in there that you can take with you and maybe like, oh yeah, you know, Mike taught me that or Derek taught me that.
exactly, man. You got it. You got it right on the money.
So, when you're helping someone go through the hiring process and all the preparation, do you promote anything for physical and mental health as well? Like maybe it's gym routines for a routine setting or just higher energy levels, or what do you do to provide that or that whereabouts to your clients?
Yeah, for sure. Well, remember, with a lot of my clients, maybe students, and the biggest thing I've observed with students is sometimes the inability to properly set boundaries, right? It's an earlier stage in your life. You may not have gone through that practice as much, but something like setting boundaries is integral, right? Speaking on my own experience, like I told you, I do a lot of different things. You got the day job, you got the university, and Clover is everywhere in between. So a lot of times, yes, I'm working on weekends. Yes, I'm working late into the night. I need to make sure I set boundaries for myself as well. I have to make sure that if it's a day where I'm sitting at my desk all day, I need to give myself a cutoff time and say, you know what, 7:30 p.m., that's it. Everything after that, I need to just go for a walk. I need to go do something. I need to get active, right? That'll be my gym time afterwards, right? So setting those boundaries ahead of time is a big thing that I advocate for clients. Um, Even small things like, when we have that first consultation, um, I learn about them on the personal side. Do you play any sports? What are your hobbies? All these different things. So from there, I can kind of tailor my coaching to their lifestyles, right? So if I know someone really likes painting, which is incredibly therapeutic, by the way, especially for in the adult space, dealing with a lot of anxiety and whatnot, that is something that I try to encourage. I say, hey, listen, we did our work. Great. We did our prep. We had our calls. Take some time. Maybe I'll commission a painting, Maybe I'll challenge you to paint me something and then we'll see how that goes. So I try to make it fun as well. I try to put little challenges and little activities throughout the coaching experience. But I absolutely agree, Derek. And listen, I think that what your business stands for is integral within every space, whether it's on the corporate level, whether it's on a startup level, whether it's even just individually with folks who need to be able to take a step back and realize when it's time to get physically active. It's time to care about the machine that we are. Because sometimes this machine could burn out. Not even sometimes. A lot of the time, the machine can burn out. And it's up to us to make sure we're oiling it the right way, treating it the right way. Right. So I absolutely agree. I think it's integral in every space that we work in.
It's awesome you brought up painting, because I paint and I'm terrible at it, but it's to turn my brain off. It's for me, and that's two things I want to share right now. Is bringing up boundaries on your end. That was one of the hardest things for me to learn, was how to say no. Is as a coach, people want your attention. I want to help, but sometimes you're burnt out, and I can't be my best for you in that emotional state. So learning to set those boundaries was huge. And then the other thing is letting go. Like, you might have time for yourself to work out, let's say, but you're still thinking about everything you have to do and all those stresses. So, for me, especially creatively, when I'm thinking of new ideas for Elevate and I get frustrated not being able to figure it out, well, it's when you let go of that they just come to you naturally. So I try to teach that to my clients, and I'm sure you do as well through those activities such as painting. If I may ask for fun, do you ever like tell someone to paint you a certain thing? Do it with.
Sometimes I commission it. I'm like, you know what? What's a big thing for me? I love watching different kind of like animes, different animation
Mhm.
styles and movies and TV shows. So I'm always like, wouldn't it be cool if I could see like myself in this kind of
Oh,
animation style or
nice.
this kind of whatever? So sometimes I'll make a fun little challenge. There was a client who was an amazing drawer, really good with a pencil and paper, and I'm like, you know what? Would you be able to like draw me in this style of like this anime, whatever it was? And then they sent it back to me. It's just me like as this animated character from like my favorite anime. And then they had fun doing it. I was like, oh my goodness, this is so cool, right? So yeah, I love doing stuff like that. I think it's fun and it's give them a little side quest to do as well, which is really helpful for everyone. Yeah.
That's so cool. Get that framed and hung up somewhere. Well, Michael, thank you so much for your time today. Do you have any message for the audience? Any advice for getting hired or job transitioning, or something that they might find impactful on top of what we talked about?
Absolutely. Listen, at the end of the day, it'll be okay. I think it's the biggest message I can always give folks is that it'll be okay. Um, with the gift of hindsight, you will look back into moments where you were stressed and perhaps at your lowest and acknowledge, at that time I wasn't able to see what was coming, but then you made it, right? Think of where you are today and think of your stresses, and then look back in the past and think of where you thought you would be. Oftentimes, that dystopian world that you created in your head is not what happened in reality. Most of the time, it's far from it. So especially that stress of finding that position for post grad or that stress of, like you said, making a transition within the workplace, it'll be okay. And it always is. And controlling those controllables is the biggest way. Having someone like a coach by your side, like the little angel on your shoulder, constantly guiding you, constantly helping you out. Those things are really important. And listen, when it comes to myself, I had a mentor previously, my first big manager that I've had. And his leadership style. And he told me this directly, and it floored me. He goes, "My job isn't complete until I equip you with the skills, knowledge, and expertise needed to one day surpass me," which is an unbelievably selfless mindset to have. And with that one manager taking that approach with me, it's honestly had a ripple effect to everything that I do. And he may not even realize how much of an impact simply having that leadership style did. So for myself, that's the same way I implement things. And I encourage everyone who's watching to have that same kind of growth mindset within your life. Oftentimes, when you let the ego go and you try to promote positivity in various different ways, you'll see of the kind of impacts it'll have on your life and especially the lives of other people.
Those are great words, my friend. All of us, and like you said to the audience, take that to heart because we all have our skills. We all want to contribute to this world positively. And in order to keep advancing it, we need the people that come after us to be better. And better the generation after that, continue down the line.
Absolutely, man. You said it perfect.
Well, Michael, thank you so much. Can you please tell the audience where they can find you, a website, LinkedIn, or anything you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, if you go straight to our Instagram, all the links are there. It's just Clover Career Coaching, nice and simple. You can find myself on LinkedIn if you had any personal messages, you just want to reach out for just a quick coffee chat. My name is Michael Gomes, and you can find myself there as well.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you everyone for listening. I will catch you next time.